This is the Fifth Estate Winning Headlines, your media police post. In this segment, we summarize the headlines that you may have missed this morning, but we also take a look at the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country. Today is the 21st of October 2021, and I am Serbia.
I am CS.
And I am GK. In case you missed the headlines, here they are. We begin with the Daily Nation. UHURU goodies. The Standard, UHURU's delicate balance. The Star, UHURU's goodies to Kenyans on his last Mashujaa Day. And finally, People Daily, relief and joy as curfew ends. So I think I'll begin with my submission. And I'd like to begin by saying politics is theater. And yesterday, the stage was set in Kirinyaga County, where the nation celebrated Mashujaa Day. Leaders entered and exited the stage, each using the spotlight to highlight their accomplishments and make promises to a receptive audience. And as each leader spoke, we got a glimpse as to what their strategy ahead of the 2022 election could look like. But to me, the most curious speaker of the bunch was undoubtedly William RUTO. He spent his time at the podium highlighting the president's achievements and assuring him that his legacy will be safe in his hands. Even though he has spent the past few months blaming the president and Raila for directing the country, of course. This inconsistency begs the question, what is the Deputy President William RUTO up to? In order to answer the question, we must remember that there is a difference between what is said and what you want the people to hear. In my view, the Deputy President is using a subtle political tactic that we call the dog whistle. A dog whistle is a special whistle used to call dogs. As a result, the whistle rings at a register unnoticeable to the human ear. So when it's blown, only dogs will hear it. And in politics, the dog whistle functions the same way. It refers to the use of suggestive language in political messaging to garner support from a group without provoking opposition. This is a commonly used tool in RUTO's arsenal. And he is not the only one to have used this tactic in Kenyan politics. For example, former President Moi would often quote his message with subtle jabs to undermine private citizens. And this is a similar tactic that RUTO is now adopting. And with this, we need to ask two questions. One, who is RUTO speaking to? And two, what is he trying to say? In my view, RUTO used the opportunity to address Gema voters, and perhaps by praising the president but also promoting his own economic model, he's trying to prove to them that he is still loyal, even though the evidence would suggest the exact opposite. In conclusion, the Deputy President opted to use this opportunity not to perform his role, but rather he took the opportunity to politic. While Raila Odinga was reminding Gema of the sacrifices that they made in the fight for liberty, the Deputy President was instead subtly promoting himself as the one who will secure the president's legacy. And I must say, we are not deceived.
In other words, he is still trying to carry Gema a pumpkin.
Exactly.
Well, today I ask the question, does good governance lead to economic and social development? I ask this question because, in my view, and the evidence supports me, UHURU has unlocked Kirinyaga County's potential. In fact, UHURU is possibly the best thing that has happened to Kirinyaga residents since Maziwa ya Nyayo. And the transformation of Kirinyaga County offers examples of what transformative leadership can achieve. During UHURU's term, billions of shillings have been invested in infrastructure, healthcare, social amenities, and agriculture in Kirinyaga and the Greater Gema region. In healthcare, if you are to fall sick in Kirinyaga, you do not have to go to neighboring Nyeri or Embu for a referral. You can just walk into Kerugoya level 5, Kimbembe level 4, or even Kianyaga level 4 and get treatment. Expectant mothers now don't have to traverse neighboring constituencies looking for maternity services. They are now available within the constituency, and thanks to Linda Mama, the services are 24 hours and free. On agriculture, you only need to look at the Viba Dam project, which will be completed this December. Not only will it provide water for domestic use, it will also give water to the rice fields. The acreage of land used for growing rice is expected to increase by thousands due to the additional volumes of water available. Production of rice will triple, and this will boost food security. To top it off, rice farmers can now sell their rice to the government through the NIB, National Irrigation Board, at lucrative prices. A kilo of rice now sells for about 80 shillings, up by 20 shillings from 60 shillings. This has eradicated many unscrupulous brokers from the farming chain who are just out to oppress the humble farmer. The fortunes of these farmers are now assured. On social amenities, by hosting the national celebrations at Kirinyaga, the president allowed the country to see that Kirinyaga now has an international sports stadium, Gurubani Stadium, which is in the league of Kasarani Sports Stadium. What am I saying here? President Uhuru Kenyatta has been the most consequential president for Kirinyaga County. The county is proof that Kenyans should elect a leader who keeps his promises. And yet, Kirinyaga and the rest of Gema seem blind to this lesson. They seem poised to swallow hook, line, and sinker of Bonasifiwe's gospel, just because someone lied to them that since he's a farmer, he loves farmers. Yet, where is the evidence? As Minister of Agriculture, he bought imported maize rather than empower the farmers in his own backyard. If he couldn't do anything for maize as Agriculture Minister, you now expect him to do a lot for rices, President. People of Kirinyaga, hapo mtaanguka mtihani. How can you trust the promises he makes when nothing is sincere about this character? If 2 days ago he was ranting at Changamwe like a drunkard in a Bosa den, calling his boss a tapeli, how can he turn around the next day and call his boss a transformational leader? Anyway, mwenye macho hambiwi tazama. The untold lesson of Kirinyaga's development is simple. Siasa mbaya, maisha mbaya. Allow me to end with a warning to the people of Kirinyaga and Gema in general. Kirinyaga people, wake up. Okerai. There is a strong correlation between who you choose as a leader and how much you develop as a people. And if you get your politics wrong in 2022, you and your children will bear the consequences of underdevelopment.
You know, you've made a very good observation, especially on health, because in addition to what has been done in Kirinyaga with the level 5 hospitals and level 4 hospitals, the president has now directed for over 50 level 3 hospitals to be built across the country. And we know it's doable because he's built 24 in Nairobi alone. Anyway, now for my submission, 365 days in a calendar year. Out of this 365, there are about 5 or 6 days in the year when the president has occasion to give an account to the nation on what he has done and what he continues to seek to do to tame the great leviathan of state. I especially look forward to these few occasions because the president gets to contextualize for us the various ways he's advancing the interests and the commonwealth of the nation. Yesterday's Mashujaa Day speech was both powerful and triumphant. On the day set aside to call to memory our history as a nation, the president guided our eyes to share in his vision of being architects of the future even as we recall our history. Tell me, is it not poetic justice that the single longest road ever built in Kenya since independence is a new Mau Mau road named in honor of the Mau Mau because it follows the war path they used during the liberation struggle? What better way to show their sacrifice was worth it than by building a major road along the path they followed in pursuit of our liberty, an infrastructural tribute to what they were fighting for. And indeed, it wasn't freedom for the sake of freedom, liberty for the sake of liberty. It was about what we could do with that self-determination once secured. So the Mau Mau Road is a 580-kilometer return on investment that will keep giving dividends in return for the sacrifice invested by our forefathers in blood, sweat, and tears. In this instance, the inflection between our history and our future is the longest road built since independence. And that is just one of the many. And there were many more impressive highlights in the president's speech. But what also stood out was a 13-point stimulus package that is designed to further uplift the economy. This is the third stimulus, which follows the 54 billion 8-point stimulus package of 2020 at the onset of the pandemic, the 26 billion stimulus that was included in the budget earlier this year, and now this additional 25 billion, which brings the total stimulus to over 105 billion by way of direct interventions to ensure that the economy thrives despite the crisis. It is no wonder that the Kenyan economy maintained some growth last year as the global economy on average contracted. And this year we are projected to register 6% growth due to the various interventions by President Uhuru's government. That said, it is not lost on us that unfortunately there will still be people who will adamantly refuse to acknowledge all that the president has done and continues to do. Having eyes, they will close them and refuse to see. Having ears, they will block them and refuse to listen and understand. But history records that even the greatest statesmen will not be without opposition.
Exactly.
The president is part of an elite club of leaders who have steered their nations through perilous storms, even in the face of great opposition from various quarters, and especially politicians who place their own self-interest above the commonwealth of the nation. In the first volume of his presidential autobiography, for instance, A Promised Land, President Barack Obama in chapter 11 recounts all the pushback and opposition he faced when he made efforts to also inject a stimulus package similar to President Uhuru's into the economy during the global financial crisis. President Obama recalls how political dynamics unfolded and how resistance from those who opposed him hardened irregardless of anything that he said or did.
Yes.
And that resistance went on to influence how the press and in turn the public viewed the substance of his actions. President Franklin Delano Roosevelt also faced similar trials when he introduced the New Deal, which was also a stimulus package to aid the economy during the Great Depression. But that said, what do these three men have in common other than being presidents who introduced stimulus programs during a crisis? These three presidents, Uhuru, Obama, and FDR, used the Keynesian model named after the economist John Maynard Keynes.
Yep.
Simply put, during a crisis, the problem is that when everyone tightens their belts at the same time, economic conditions cannot improve. And in 2020-2021, this is exactly what happened. Everyone tightened their belts. Understandably. Therefore, the Keynesian economic model asserts that the government needs to step in as a spender of last resort to pump money into the economy until the gears start to turn again. So what does this tell us? It tells us that when we ultimately judge the president of Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, we will find that the fundamentals are sound. And history will judge him kindly. In fact, recently, Senator James Orengo shared a piercing insight.
I want to tell this nation that part of the work that has been done in the last 4 years, including the expressway, including opening up the old railway line to Kisumu, to Nyanyuki, what is happening in the field of energy 20, 30 years later is when people realize what President Uhuru has done for this country.
As much as we are already seeing the successes of President Uhuru's time in office, the fact is the impact of his legacy will be realized in its fullness long after he has left office. This was true of FDR, it was true of Obama, and it will be true of President Uhuru.
Fantastic, absolutely beautiful piece. So we have a three-part criteria that we use to judge the headlines for you. We ask ourselves these questions. Is the headline topical or speculative? Is it repetitive or groundbreaking? And finally, is it thoughtful or just plain lazy? So let us relook at these headlines. I'll reread them for you. Daily Nation, Uhuru goodies. The Standard, Uhuru's delicate balance. The Star, Uhuru's goodies to Kenyans on his last Mashujaa Day. And the People Daily, relief, joy as curfew ends. The Daily Nation and the Star, both the first words are exactly the same, which to me is not necessarily a good sign. They all talk about the same theme, which is the package, and I'm sure most of them are trying to suggest that the curfew was a very big deal. What do you guys think?
Delicate balance. It was indeed a delicate balancing act. You know, keeping his development agenda on track while also keeping the country from the ravages of a pandemic. It is indeed a delicate balancing act. So that headline is apt, it is topical, and gets right to the heart of the matter.
I would agree with you. So is it okay if I give it the winning headline?
You have my vote.
The winning headline goes to the Standard. And now, on to the political pieces that we call cartoons in this country, where we also have a three-part criteria to break them down for you. We ask ourselves, is it humorous or dry? Number two, is it satirical or pessimistic? And is it effective or just plain lazy? CS, why don't you take us through the Daily Nation?
Yeah, Daily Nation, you have a caricature of President Uhuru giving the Mashujaa Day speech yesterday, and you have a huge thought bubble that has so many words in lorem ipsum. It's not even English.
Yeah.
Which suggests that most people didn't really listen to most of the speech, and they only just listened to the president's few words when he said that the curfew is vacated. And the rest of the speech, you can see him holding a tape measure, which suggests that the speech was about the various measures he has taken. It's a bit corny, but it's funny. I'll give it that.
It's a very funny
But
cartoon.
unfortunately, it's true. Most people are only interested about the vacation of the curfew.
Yeah, it's a funny cartoon. I can't say that it's very funny. I'll go to the Standard. So, okay, this is South African politics. You have the shirt of Nelson Mandela, and it's like a time thing. So trying to fit into his shirt. Then you have Thabo Mbeki looking on, smoking a cigar, reading the Thabo Mbeki, and he's looking at the shirt. He's not even interested. Then you have Jacob Zuma, who looks like he's a scarecrow. I don't know how to explain it properly, but he's standing on some stilts or ladders, and his shirt has been sort of sewn onto him. But the shirt is not fitting. And then finally you have Ramaphosa, who is drowning in this shirt. So I suppose they're just trying to say how Nelson Mandela set a very high bar for all of them to reach, and he doesn't believe that they have reached it at all. I think that's the gist of the cartoon. Serbia, why don't you take us through the Star?
Okay, so we have some caricatures of Wetangula, Mudavadi, Gideon, Musyoka, Ruto and Raila, and Uhuru. They appear to be rubbing elbows with each other, and they have spiked clubs behind their back. It implies that they all appear to be buddy-buddy right now. However, this will be short-lived, and they'll soon return to their normal behavior of attacking each other. The Star wants to allude that they are playing nice on the surface, but however, I think they have missed the whole point. There is more to it. I think they also don't want to show their cards too early. They could perhaps even be friends privately, and they have planned their public spats, and attacks just for business,
The question,
for optics.
the question I have is, why is Raila Odinga so low below all of them, and there's some random hands on the side which
they are protecting him. It looks like
they are protecting him a little
yes,
bit.
against the blues impede.
The hands you can't see are the hands of the deep state.
Potentially, you've given an extra meaning to this cartoon. So I'll conclude with the People Daily. Okay, so you have a Kenyan guy running up a hill with a big boulder connected to his, literally the ball and chain connected to his bottom leg, and then a syringe is the ball is called unemployment, and a syringe is trying to pierce him, which is called drug abuse. I don't really understand the context
Not the vaccine.
of it's not the vaccine, it's drug abuse. I don't understand the context of the cartoon at all, really. I don't think there's anything really to say about it.
I think they're basically saying that one of the challenges with respect to unemployment isn't just opportunities, but also vices. Mihadarati
Yes.
is also what is causing the youth not to have jobs. But it's unfortunately quite pessimistic.
Yes.
We do have a hardworking populace of the youth, although it's a challenge that needs to be combated. Hopefully in time it is a vice that will be eradicated.
Okay, so who do we give our winning headline? Do we give it to The Nation? The winning cartoon, rather.
Yes.
Yeah, I give it to The Nation.
Okay, so on a day when we had a winning headline from The Standard, UHURU's Delicate Balance, and a winning cartoon from The Daily Nation, CS, why don't you kick us off, end us with a quote?
We'll leave you with a quote by Walter Cronkite. He said that whatever the cost of our libraries, the price is cheap compared to that of an ignorant nation.
Fantastic. So don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We are also on your TV screens. Find us on Pang Free to Air, GoTV, and Star Times. Have a beautiful evening.
Good night.